Have you ever noticed how much of your stress comes not from what you're doing, but from what you're hoping to get from it? You study for the exam, but it's not the work itself that keeps you up at night. It's the grade you imagine. You give your best in a relationship, but the weight on your chest isn't the effort. It's the fear of how the other person will respond. You work long hours at your job, but it isn't just the labor that drains you. It's the outcome you crave, the promotion you hope for, the recognition you feel you need. Most of our exhaustion doesn't come from life itself. It comes from our attachment to results we cannot control. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught that the only things within our control are our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. Everything else, fortune, reputation, other people's reactions, even our own bodies in the long run, are not truly ours to command. And yet we live as though we can bend the world into our image. We tie our peace to the outcome of events, forgetting that outcomes are never guaranteed. No wonder we live anxious. No wonder we live restless. No wonder peace feels so rare. Detachment doesn't mean apathy. It doesn't mean giving up, fusing to care. It means shifting your focus from what you cannot control to what you can. It means learning to put all your energy into the process, the effort, the practice, and letting the results take care of themselves. Imagine an archer. The archer can choose the bow, adjust the stance, aim carefully, release with skill. But once the arrow leaves the string, the outcome is no longer in their hands. A gust of wind, a movement in the target, an accident in the moment, all of it can alter where the arrow lands. The Stoic way is to find peace in having aimed well, in having done your part fully, and then letting the arrow fly free. How much pain have you caused yourself by gripping too tightly to the outcome? You wanted someone's approval, and when it didn't come, you felt worthless. You worked hard for a reward, and when it didn't arrive, you felt cheated. You planned your life carefully, and when events changed, you felt broken. All of this is natural, but all of it is unnecessary. Because peace does not come from controlling the outcome. Peace comes from detaching from it. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, ruled the most powerful empire in the world, and yet he reminded himself each morning that people would betray him. Events would unfold unexpectedly, and death could arrive at any time. He didn't cling to a fantasy of perfect outcomes. He grounded himself in reality. He focused on his duty, on what was within his power: justice, kindness, clarity of thought. He understood that clinging to results would only make him a slave to fortune. By detaching, he found freedom, even on the throne. We often think peace will come once the outcome is secure, once we have the money, the recognition, the relationship. But that peace never lasts. The moment you get what you wanted, the mind immediately races toward the next outcome. You get the job, and soon you're anxious about promotion. You find love, and soon you're terrified of losing it. You hit your goal, and immediately you raise the bar. The mind, when tied to outcomes, never rests. The treadmill never ends. Detachment is the way off that treadmill. When you detach, you don't stop working hard. You work harder, but with more freedom. You write the book not for bestseller status, but for the joy of the craft. You train not only for the medal, but for the discipline and growth it brings. You love not for the guarantee of return, but for the beauty of loving itself. Suddenly, every action becomes lighter. You still aim high, but you stop chaining your self-worth to the results. You begin to taste peace. Seneca once wrote, "The wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." That doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you no longer make your peace dependent on something fragile and outside your control. When the reward comes, you enjoy it. When it doesn't, you remain steady. This steadiness is power, because while the world shakes, you stand firm. This practice changes everything. In relationships, detachment doesn't make you cold. It makes you genuine. You no longer manipulate or cling out of fear because you are not enslaved to how the other person responds. You can love fully without needing to control the outcome. In work, detachment doesn't make you lazy. It makes you fearless. You stop obsessing over failure and pour yourself into the effort. In daily life, detachment doesn't make you numb. It makes you free. Free from the endless chase. Free from the prison of expectations. Of course, detachment isn't easy. The human heart wants security, wants guarantees, but every guarantee is an illusion. The Stoics trained themselves daily to remember this. They practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining loss before it arrived. Not to be pessimistic, but to remind themselves that they could survive without outcomes. They practiced voluntary discomfort, sleeping on the floor, eating simply, not to punish themselves, but to see that life without luxuries is still life worth living. They reminded themselves of death, not to be morbid, but to release the grip of tomorrow and anchor themselves in today. Detachment was not a thought experiment. It was a daily discipline. When you begin to live this way, you notice something profound. Peace is always available. It isn't waiting at the end of some achievement. It isn't locked in the hands of other people. It isn't hidden in the future. It is here, now, in the way you choose to meet this moment. The storm outside may rage, but the storm inside begins to calm. So ask yourself, where in your life are you attached to an outcome? Is it a relationship where you're waiting for validation? Is it a career where you're hungry for recognition? Is it a personal goal where your peace depends on success? What if you could shift your focus away from the outcome and place it entirely on the effort, the practice, the present? What would that feel like? Detach from the outcome. Do the work. Love the process. Trust the flow of life. This is not resignation. It's liberation. The Stoics knew that fortune will rise and fall. People will praise and criticize. Circumstances will change without warning. But the person who has trained themselves to let go of outcomes remains unshaken. That steadiness, that inner fortress, is peace. And if this message speaks to you, take a moment now to subscribe and join this journey. Each week, we explore Stoic habits, not just as ideas, but as living practices to help you find clarity, strength, and peace in a noisy world. And I want to hear from you. In what area of your life do you most need to detach from outcomes? Share it in the comments. Your words might inspire someone else to let go too. Because the truth is, you don't need to wait for peace. You can create it, not by controlling the winds, but by learning how to sail through them, not by chasing outcomes, but by mastering how you move through each moment. That's the Stoic way, and it's a way worth walking.